I'll be honest, I was expecting more comics and stuff like that during this season, but I did not expect we would get more lore before the second act even comes out. But oh well, here we are with us getting a new comic as well as Mel's entire bio. Now, originally I wanted to cover the comic first. However, I realized that if you want to go in chronological order, you might want to start with Mel's bio first, because it gives us a lot of context. More than that, Mel's bio is really cool because it did something special. It directly continues the story we saw in Arcane. So a lot of non-League players will be interested in this one as well. Speaking of which, in League of Legends, when you go into the client, you'll learn that Mel is now finally in the game, and you get a mission where you can get Mel as a champion for free just by doing a bunch of stuff. It's nothing too complex, you just passively get her. But you know what's the really dumb part that's connected to all of this? You know how Riot restructured the entire hub so that everything would feel more unified? To which I would say yes, everything looks more Noxian now. So if I want to learn about Noxus and Mel's story, apparently I can't do that. Yes, Mel's bio is just not in the client. Like, really, since you are restructuring the way the client works and how it delivers content, this is a massive flaw. I mean, see all of those tabs on the side, which also include the new comics? Give me one reason why Mel's story can't be there, especially since it is so heavily connected to what's happening in Noxus. There is no reason to make people go to the Universe website. Worse than that, especially if they are just an Arcane fan, they will have no idea that website even exists. It feels like we are back where we've been 2 years ago. So Riot, in the future, please fix this and just slap the new champion lore into the client. It doesn't even have to be permanent, just put it in one of the tabs, because it's new and people might be interested in it. Anyway, that was my rant about how Riot can actually deliver the lore in a better way. Regardless, we finally got Mel's bio, which for those of you who don't know is just the base story of the champion. But you may notice that it is slightly different from what we're used to getting, because her bio reads more like a traditional short story. The difference here is that a bio is more like a list of information that is just written down about a character, you know, like a biography. But a short story is a story that happened from the perspective of that champion. Or at least in most cases, these stories are written from the first-person perspective. And here, this is what we got in Mel's bio. Specifically, this story is what plays in her head during the last scene of Arcane. This is the scene where Mel was holding Mbessa's mask as the ships were sailing towards Noxus. So what we are about to read happened after Arcane, but right before the new cinematic. So, let's get on it. Mother, a soldier gave me the gift of your mask today. Mindlessly, I traced the tracks, taking in every dent, every scar from the countless battles where you emerged victorious, and the one battle you did not. Only now, as our ship crosses the waters to Noxus, has reality began to set in. You are gone, again. But this time, I can no longer hope for your return. I know you wouldn't want me to dwell on this. You'd tell me to be proud. I finally became the wolf you so desperately desired. Still, I wonder, did I become what you hoped for, or just what you needed me to be? So much has changed, and yet part of me is as lost as I was over 10 years ago. When I think back on it, the air of Cousin Jago's greeting when I first arrived in Piltover, it reeked of pity. You'd made it clear that I was being delivered, handed off, and that you wouldn't be coming back for me. Even so, for years, I would fall asleep longing for you as any daughter longs for her mother, despite everything you'd done. Every morning, I awoke to the emptiness you left behind. I have spent my life trying to fill that emptiness, to prove myself worthy of my own mother's love. Here we can already point out a few cool pieces of information. First of all, it was revealed that Mel was in Piltover for 10 years. But also, we learned that Jago Medarda is alive. I think. For those of you who don't know, according to the old lore, Jago Medarda was the head of Clan Medarda. Then of course Arcane happened, and now Mel was the head of the clan, so we had no idea what happened to Jago. For all we knew, it was just one big retcon. But now we learned that's not the case, and this is not a retcon. which means that two possible scenarios happened. Either Jago was the head of Medarda before Mel arrived in Piltover, after which she then took over, or Jago is still alive now, and after Mel leaves Piltover and she goes back to Noxus, then Jago takes over. Or it is also possible that both of these are true, where Jago was the head of Medarda before and after Arcane. Regardless, Jago Medarda stayed canon. And that's pretty much it. It's not like that character actually had some deep lore. So, let's continue. I have lived the only way I know how, as the fox, swift and cunning. I earned the council's trust, and nearly had Piltover in the palm of my hand. If only you had trusted me, Mother. I wouldn't be left with this mess. I wouldn't have to... No, it's not that simple. I know now you were trying to protect me in your own way. I never could have imagined such magic lay dormant within me. But there are many things about my past I hadn't considered before your passing. Truthfully, it is overwhelming. And all the more reason I wish I could have fought at your side. I cannot begin to imagine what you must have felt, being hunted by the Black Rose for all those years. But I do know that if you were ever afraid, it wasn't for yourself, it was for Kino and for me. And in the end, I was your undoing. Perhaps you knew all along that I was the one to fear. I'm sorry, Mother, but I don't regret protecting my city. With strength comes sacrifice. Isn't that what you always said? Your creed, your excuse for everything. Did you ever care what it did to me? To us? Was it worth it? I'm the one left bearing the cost of it all. Here we can quickly point out that the fourth principle that Ambessa brought up during Arcane is still part of Mel's theme. You can see it here in the bio, and it also comes back in the comic. So sacrifice, as the fourth and a new principle of Noxus, will be something that will be pushed forward through Mel's story. You kept so much hidden from me. The truth about my father, Kino's murder, and perhaps most pressing of all, this vendetta the Black Rose had against you that now entangles me. I imagine these merely scratch the surface of your lies, and those of this deceiver. I plan to uncover everything you have kept from me. It pains me that those words will never reach you, but I hope you're watching from Volrak Nun. I will cast this letter overboard, so it may be drowned into the depths and become one with the waters of Rockrune's shores, where you once defeated death itself. Now this is incredibly cool, because there is some deep context behind all of this. First of all, Volrak Nun is the pocket death realm of the wolf. If you go back to Ambessa's cinematic, that's the realm where we saw Kindred. That realm is called Volrak Nun. With Mordekaiser also having his own death realm called Mitnarak Nun. See, I found a way to talk about Mordekaiser again. Anyway, anytime anything is Raknun, it seems like it is some kind of a death realm. And yes, that's also what the entire skin line was based on. Those were all made-up soldiers who defeated the wolf in the Volrak Nun, and so they proved to be worthy of living. Now besides that, here it is also confirmed that Mel is writing a letter to Ambessa, and she wants to throw it into the seas at Rockrund. Of course, from Ambessa's bio, we know that Rockrund is the home of the Medarda clan, which means that's where the ships are sailing at the end of Arcane. Not only that, but this also confirmed that this is where Ambessa's cinematic happened. And since this is also where the new cinematic began, it's just making a really cool circle. I'm soon to arrive as an outsider in the land where I was born. Our own guards do not truly see me as Medarda, even if the distrust within their hearts dare not to escape their lips. A nation that prizes strength, yet thrives for bloodshed, is not one I can proudly call my own. And I will not stand idly as the chaos continues. You taught me how to survive, Mother. I taught myself how to live. And while you pushed me to embrace the wolf, I will never abandon the ways of the fox. It may not be the way you intended, but I'm coming home, Mother. And I will make a difference here, until my heart no longer beats. Your daughter, Mel. And that is Mel's bio. So, what did we learn from this? Well, not that much, I'll be honest. But we did learn that Mel's ultimate goal and the purpose of her story is that she wants to learn everything that Ambessa kept away from her, which means she wants to learn what the heck did Ambessa do to give her the magical powers. And that, for the most part, is kinda it. Now, of course, there is also the second half of her story where she is still pushing forward the new idea of a new principle being sacrifice, which kinda hints at the fact that Mel may be really interested in the leadership of Noxus. And so it is possible that eventually she does become a leader of Noxus as the fourth principle. And if that's the case, then Noxus will have 4 leaders. Which means 2 versus 2 votes can happen and the entire idea of democracy goes out the window. Good luck, Swain. But that's kinda where we are right now. With Mel launching on live servers, I'm sure sooner or later there will be something that will break and she will be memed eventually. But so far, her reception is still very good. Besides that, there are still no news on Hextech chests. And so in the end, I am just happy the lore is progressing forward. We have not seen that in like 3 years.